There's been a change of plans, tighten up the clamps, we guarding the glass. I'm a Knickerbocker, we going man to man, no blood, no foul, sturdy in the zone. I leave it all on the line, die hard or go home. You see the body work, we shaking and baking. Was down by 20, but my spirit ain't breaking. Respect ain't automatic, you screaming out for the ref for a tech. You for a tech. I guard the garden, steel block swatted, bleed blue and orange. It's a die-hard thing, you know nothing about it. Life with the any star, 5 borough flavor. I made it rain, stole your cookies, see you later. Yeah, die hard. We ain't get these scars for nothing, we gon' die hard. Yeah, die hard. We ain't get these scars for nothing, we gon' try hard. Yeah, lettuce, suck.
Yo, before we get started, let's make sure the damn audio is right, man. Is the audio on? Testing, 1, 2, 3. It looks like it's on my end, but this damn StreamYard, I tell you, every week is something else with this thing. Anyway, we here rocking. I am your boy, Diehard Eru. This is the Diehard Hour on Nothing But Knicks. We're still on Diehard Knicks podcast as well. But you know, we're gonna end that. I keep saying we're gonna do that. There's 12 games left in the season. So right now we have 70 games in the books. So you know, new things going on in here with the Nothing But Knicks show. You know, it's fun. It's been fun being on here. I got to you know, get on the schedule for the first time in this whole time I've been doing podcasting. Like I said, I've been on YouTube since 2018, and this is the first time I had a schedule. Now right now it's been working pretty good. I never could do a schedule, guys. Never could do a schedule. Every time I did a podcast, it always was like, you know, as soon as I run in the house and I got a thought in my head, I would just jump on, or breaking news or something like that. I would just pop on and do something. That's how I've been doing it. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, shout out again to people that say you need to be consistent. I want to say over the years, I've probably been one of the most consistent people you've ever seen. Just not on a timetable, you know, like once a week. You know, I'm definitely could see me at this time. I would just putting podcasts out whenever I could put it out. You know, so I, you know, just thanking you guys for the continued support, and also thank you, Sim, for always thinking of me. You know, every time something comes up, you know, he always says, "Yo, Eru, can you do this? Can you do that? Yo, Eru, can you do this for me?" You know what I'm saying, or whatever. You know, so I definitely appreciate everything, all the support from everybody all across these internets and stuff like that. Shout out to some of the people that I met in the streets of this past week, man. You know, all that stuff. You know, just gives me energy. You know, it makes me want to keep doing it. You know, because you know, this is like a thankless kind of thing, because people just assume that we're just like sitting in our houses just waiting to go on you know, press play on these podcasts, man. I literally just came in from outside working 12 hours, you know, sometimes more than that, you know, and then I kissed my kids and talked to them for a little while. I took a nap before the podcast, you know, so all my notes and stuff, I didn't even put it up yet. So I'm just flying at the seat of my pants right now. But you know, people think we just sitting in front of the camera. You know, not for nothing, a lot of us are. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you guys can hear the soundboard, but a lot of people are. They work from home and they just sitting in their house, don't ever leave, and waiting to push play on these pods, you know. So anyway, teachers on. I'm just talking, killing time for you guys to come into the chat and stuff. So, you know, right off the bat, you got the Lettuce, baby. That's the guy that does the theme song. He appears in AI form, you know, in the intro video. You know, so shout out to the Lettuce, man. Definitely surprised, man. That the beat surprised us both. You know, shout out to Sim with the production. So he was the one that came up with the beat. Sim is quietly a decent producer, man. He has a lot of good material, you know, that he just has in the stash, you know, waiting for somebody to grab it and do something with it. So you know, I was able to give it to the Lettuce, and he hit me up. He said, "Yo, bro, are you serious?" And then like he literally pumped out that intro, I want to say, in just a couple hours sitting in his bathroom. So overnight, you know, he missed sleep trying to get it done, man. So I hope you guys liked it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm getting a lot of feedback. You know, I don't know how it's going on the Lettuce end or how it's going on Sim's end, but people have been hitting me up saying is that they appreciate the you know, the tone, the grit of it, you know, the sound of it. You know what I'm saying? It just you know, it was good, man. You know, it's good to just to hear good music, regardless whatever it is, man. You know, shout out to Sim too. Sim has another channel. It's called The Front Stoop. So we got to make use of that channel as well too, man. So we can get some hip hop stuff going on because I got a lot to say about hip hop as well as the Knicks and everything else in between, man. So it is what it is, man. So here goes Kareem Grant in the place, one of my biggest supporters, Kareem Grant. I got Eddie Officio. Yeah, man. So to the chat and stuff. Got Harlem CEO in the place. So listen, I got my family here. Shout out to Harlem CEO. I have my kicks here. I always keep them on the desk, but I think my wife moved them to a special place. You know what I'm saying? But I got all my Knicks stuff here. Shout out to all my Knicks gear. Got my little Knicks plushie that I got for Christmas. I got some tequila that I don't drink anymore. So, but I got tequila on my desk. I got a bunch of other crazy stuff here, man. Just I need to do something with it. But without further ado, man, let's do something with this podcast, man. I'm here talking all this bullshit. You guys came to talk Knicks. Let's talk some Knicks, man. So I mean, before we could talk Knicks, we gotta talk about this guy, Cade Cunningham, man. So Cade Cunningham, I saw what happened. They were saying, yo, Cade got hurt. Oh, snap. So I said, let me go check it out. I'm expecting like some kind of injury, like might have blew his knee out or another Achilles injury or something like that. But it ended up being something that I didn't really understand what I was looking at when it happened. So 5 minutes into the game, I don't know if we're gonna get flagged. This is off of Twitter here, X. So he just basically playing defense, really good defense against number 12. The ball is lost and 12 and K collide. So it looked like he might have got cracked in the ribs there with a knee. You know what I'm saying? Cade looked fine though, so I didn't see what happened afterwards. So like a little collision that happens in basketball all the time. You can see he winced right away, but it looks like a regular thing. Let me get this off before you have any problems. But yeah, man, I didn't really was that the clip? Was there another clip that showing him getting hurt and stuff? Because for a collapsed lung. So I'll tell you about a collapsed lung. I've known quite a few people that have had collapsed lungs. Hitting the brakes too hard in the car. The seatbelt. I heard I had a seatbelt clap somebody's lungs before. Of course, the airbag. If the airbag is deployed, it can pop your lungs. You know what I'm saying? You know, uh, Various other times too, where let's even through CPR, someone's giving CPR and it collapses the person's lungs or whatever. Getting punched, boxing. I used to box a long time ago. I can't even say that I used to box because it's been so long ago that I can't even prove it anymore. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, the guy got punched in his ribs. They thought it was his ribs, but I believe the ribs might have punctured his lung, and that's what caused a collapsed lung. So I'm thinking of trauma. So he did get popped in the lungs pretty hard there with the knee. So that's like kind of like a freak injury. So I mean, a lot of other fans, out there were cheering and stuff like that. The X app is disgusting, man. It's like everybody goes there just to take a shit and take a piss all over the internet. You know what I'm saying, with their words and stuff. But a guy having a collapsed lung is a serious thing. You know what I'm saying? So the initial reports is that they're gonna check on him in 2 weeks. So I'm not a doctor. You know what I'm saying? So you slide through here. Like I said, I got a couple other stories with collapsed lungs too, but we only got an hour show. But just looking at medical experts, they're like just in general, from what I've been reading, they said that he could be back within 2 weeks. And if he didn't play basketball, just going back to work, he can go back to work in like maybe like a couple days, like a week or so. You know what I'm saying? Take a couple sick days and he'll be back to work. So it's weird, man. Professional basketball is a whole different thing. It's one thing to be in shape to do like a small competition or something like that. But you're talking about running up and down the court, getting hit again. So he's always gonna have the risk of getting hit in the ribs again. Getting popped in his lungs again, or possibly catching some kind of relapse. Where like he catches a spasm in his lungs, or he just can't keep up. Or the fucking guy could get a blood clot or something like that and drop dead on the court. Lord knows we've seen enough of that, at least in the older fans' time, where we watch guys collapse. Shout out to Reggie Lewis. Reggie Lewis collapsed on the basketball court right in front of Larry Johnson, I believe. You know what I'm saying? Hank Gathers, when I was a kid, I seen him collapse on the court, and he died, bro. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Reggie Lewis also. He also passed away. You know what I'm saying? So it just makes me remember those times when those guys collapsed on the court. And I just don't want that to happen to this kid. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, collapsed lung, people say, oh, it's not that big of a deal. People that may have experienced it before, the doctor said he'll be back in 2 weeks or so. So I mean, a safe way to me, I say a month. I say 4 weeks 4 weeks he should be able to get back. 2 weeks, as far as getting his lung health together, making sure that that's fine, and then getting himself back into shape, man. So I mean, I would say 4 weeks is got to be the minimum here. You know what I'm saying? So 4 weeks from now, I don't have a calendar. I don't have a calendar up here. So let me just check my phone real quick. So we're talking about. I'll just do it like this. 4 weeks from today. So 4 weeks from today is literally the end of the season, April 16th. So April 16th, I believe the last game for the Knicks is literally like around that time, right? The last game for the Knicks is April 12th. So April 16th is literally in the playoffs, maybe around the first round, the beginning of the first round of the playoffs. So, I think they should shut him down, man. For like 12 games left. I'm not sure exactly how many games Detroit has, but to have this guy, looking to get back before the season start, I just think that's ridiculous. They already have their record. They made the playoffs. We'll talk about the record in a second, but I just think that it's more important for this young man to make sure that his health is right rather than him to get back in the court. Because they're talking about MVP votes and stuff like that. So he already missed a certain amount of games, so he doesn't qualify. He won't be able to qualify to get any awards if he doesn't play like 4 more games, I think. You know what I'm saying? So to come back just so you can get an award, that shit is like so ridiculous to me. This guy has like a whole career ahead of him, man. How old is Kate Cunningham right now? Kate Cunningham, he's on 24. He's actually born September 25th. My oldest son's birthday is September 23rd, man. So just about the same age too. He was born in 2001. My son was born in 2003. You know what I'm saying? So this guy could be my son, man. So I'm just thinking about him in that way. I can't see this guy coming back and then possibly getting hurt just over this game of basketball. I understand this is their life. They're fighting for playoffs and for bragging rights and all this stuff, man. But what's more important in life, man? Being able to see another day or just leaving it all on the court, the cliche way. Yeah, man, I left it out all out there. I'd rather die on the court, man. All right. I get it. I get it. I totally get it, man. As a competitor, I'd rather leave it on out there, man. But I want to see this guy, have a nice long life. You know what I'm saying? I would like to live to see him retire. You know what I'm saying? These NBA players don't last that long, man. 24 years old, another 10 years from now, he could be out the league, casually retired at 34 years old or something like that, man. You know what I mean? So I want to see him have a flourishing career rather than come back too soon and ruin his whole career there, man. Because you can go down to like I was thinking of like a Grant Hill. Even though Grant Hill did come back, he had those surgeries and stuff like that. He could have lost his life also. He had a lot of bad infections and stuff like that, but he fought to come back. You know what I'm saying? But this is your lungs, man. It's like very sensitive thing here when it comes to that. So what do you guys think about the Kate Cunningham thing, man? I know, like I said, some of the guys on the X app, I saw that they were just saying, "Oh yes," like Boston fans were saying, "Yeah, we can catch Detroit now." Some Knicks fans were saying it too, man. You know what I'm saying? I just think that's messed up. And then Detroit fans also, so they're kind of like planting those seeds, for it to be attacked also. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes down to it, like I said, man, this is all sports. This is supposed to be some fun stuff here, So it's fun to get guys, teams 100%, not like, yes, they got hurt, so now we got a better chance. I get all that too, but nah, man. I want to see guys healthy. Shout out to everybody's out there that enjoys sports and stuff. So yeah, man. Let me see what else is going on here. Uh, is it best to be third or second place? Hmm. These are good questions, man. Cade is about to lose the awards due to eligibility. Yeah. So I mean, him being the best player in the East, he legit has a good shot to have been the MVP of the league this year. Taking a look at his stats really quick, but based off what you see on the screen, averaging 24.5, 5.6 rebounds, 9 assists per game, which is crazy, bro. 9 assists, basically 10 assists per game, shooting 46%. That's just a quick glance. You know what I'm saying? What he normally does here. And he's an amazing basketball player. He's a guy that's just as big as our starting power forward, and he's out there, putting up numbers that rival guys like Magic Johnson and stuff like that. So a lot of young guys, they'll discredit a Magic Johnson because they see Cade Cunningham, but Cade Cunningham is in the kind of same conversation of player like a Magic. Magic, even though they average kind of similar with assists, maybe Magic might have averaged a couple more assists than Cade. But Magic really, got busy with the improvisation and stuff. But just as far as the balls in his hands, he's making decisions for his team. Cade is right up there with some of the best assist man, not necessarily passers, but assist man in the league, man. So dope basketball player, man. Got to give him his props the best I can here. Shout out to says I will ask my cousin that worked for the Pistons about Cade. Yeah, that'll be some good inside information there. But like I said, if you get a collapse lung, you could come back. A regular person could come back, in a week or so, a couple sick days, and then you'll be back to work or whatever, light duty, or like if you work in an office, you'd just be back to regular duty. You know what I'm saying? If you worked in an office. But for somebody that runs for a living, it's just gonna be something to watch, man. Shout out to Fred Wong, 6087. He says this will be the excuse when we beat Detroit. Yeah, that's what hurts as a competitor. That's what's gonna hurt because let's say if Detroit does fall in the standings and stuff like that, and then we end up say playing Detroit in the second round because they fall. Let's say, let's look at the standings since we're talking about it. Let's take a look at the standings. So this is the early stand. This is the current standings now. So I'm looking at. I'm not good at math, like I said. So 50. So they're 2 games behind. So they have 14 more games left compared to us. We have 12. They have 14, according to my math here. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, they could lose a couple games where Boston could catch them, and then possibly we can get into that second spot also. If they do that, if they get into the second spot, then we'll be on the I believe we'll be on the same bracket as Detroit where we'll meet them in the second round. You know what I'm saying? So like, he's right. This guy, Fred Wong, if we meet them in the second round and we just beat them without Cade, that's all we're gonna hear. We're gonna hear from all of the critics and stuff like that about how we could have won if Cade was 100%. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, things happen. Like that's the thing about it. When Julius Randle was out that time, he was out for the season with the busted shoulder. Nobody said anything about Julius Randle when we made the playoffs and stuff like that. With when Indiana was whooping our ass, and half the team was hurt. Nobody said anything about the Knicks injuries. I mean, like literally during the telecast, they were just talking about how the Knicks suck and all that kind of stuff. But we was missing like almost all of our starters. We was missing a lot of our key backup players. Even like the last game, freaking Brunson broke his hand. So I mean, Josh Hart had I think broke a rib or something like that. I forgot. Oh, he had an abdominal muscle injury. OG's had something wrong with his mangina or something. Like he was like holding his like hamstring way up his ass. You know what I'm saying? So he was hurt. Quite a few guys were out, man, and we had no chance to beat anybody, but we still was competing. That's one thing about this team. These players, they can really compete when the time comes, man. So so I don't know, man. It just sucks to talk about injuries at this point of the season because this is the time when you should be thriving. So just taking a look at some of these teams here. One team that's been thriving is the Atlanta Hawks, bro. Atlanta Hawks is they got an 11-game winning streak right now. So they're 0-10 the last games, of course, 11-game winning streak, 38 and 31. So they were kind of looking on the outside, possibly outside of the playing tournament. But right now they're knee deep in the play-ins and actually might just make the playoffs outright with the way they've been playing. You know what I'm saying? So that's a team that's going to be tough to look at. If they end up being the playing team and they make it out of there, you know what I'm saying? It's, we could possibly it could possibly be a really good battle in these playoffs. The Boston Celtics versus Atlanta, that would be a good matchup. I think Atlanta might have a chance to beat Boston in the first round matchup, man. If you're just thinking about it, look at Miami. You can never count Miami out. If Miami's there, they could possibly be a hard out. That's a first for the first round of the series there. If right now if things was to end the way that it is now, let's take a look at the playoff schedule. Quickly at the playoffs. Nope, that's not it. Quickly at the playoff schedule. There you go. Scroll it up. The Knicks would play Cleveland. No. They would play the Magic currently. I'm not worried about the Magic. I'm not worried about them. They got some players, they could play tough and stuff, but I just don't believe in Kate, not Kate, Paolo. I don't believe in Paolo. France Wagner, I'm kind of like worried about a little bit about Paolo Banchero. I'm not worried about that cat. Even France Wagner, I'm really worried about him. I think we have the players to defend those guys, but outside of those two guys, you want to talk about the Tyrannosaurus Rex in the backcourt there. Mr. Short Arms that likes to fight. Most of their players, they got a couple guys on that roster that likes to fight. You know what I mean? So, I'm not really worried about Orlando Magic. So I think we could take Orlando Magic as currently with this current thing going on here. So in that first round, I think we can take care of that. So I mean, then I believe we'll be bracketed in whoever the Celtics play. So I just mentioned the Heat and the Hawks there. The Celtics will be in trouble playing either one of those teams. The Celtics, even though they got Tatum coming back here, Tatum has been back. They're going to be a tough team to knock out. But you're talking about chemistry. They're going to have to get right at the right time. So they have a lot of things against them. But the Atlanta Hawks team is hot right now, and so is the Heat team, man. So that's going to be a hard out for them. On the other side, you look. According to this, it says the 76ers and the Hornets there. The winner between those guys or the Heat or whatever. So I'm just looking at it. I'm just going to assume the Heat or the Hawks. So let's say if the Hawks end up there. So I like I said, the Celtics would be in trouble there. So the Detroit Pistons also against the Heat and the Hawks without Cade Cunningham, I think they're out of it also. So that second round, the Knicks possibly can play either the Celtics, Heat, or the Hawks in that second round. That's going to be some good basketball, I think. You know what I mean? But the road all of a sudden gets a little bit easier if that is the case. You know what I'm saying? But every championship run has their luck. A lot of teams have luck. Shout out to the Toronto Raptors when they had, Kawhi Leonard over there. Before that they had just traded for him. And remember that shot that he shot in the corner where it bounced up in the air and it went in and stuff like that. They had a lot of things going for them. They also had some injury stuff too that helped them out, to get to the finals as well. You know what I'm saying? So, the ball has to bounce the right way in order for you to get there. A lot of teams is like that. Even Jordan's first championship against the Lakers should have beat them, but the Lakers were hurt. And then Magic had AIDS. For Christ's sake, he never had AIDS. I'm just, I'm saying he had HIV, but we didn't know he had that yet, man. So I'm quite sure there was like, I'm quite sure they knew in the locker room what was going on with him, and I'm quite sure he himself knew what was going on. So the anxiety of that, so like I'm just trying to say that a lot of teams have issues and stuff, where they won championships because other teams folded for whatever reason. You know what I mean? So, I guess this comes with it. It comes with the territory. But every time it happens to the Knicks, it's always like, overblown, bro. Overblown when it comes to these little stories like that. That's why our Knicks championships are so revered because we beat the Titans at the time. The Knicks, they came up and they beat the Celtics. They beat say like the Baltimore or the Baltimore Bullets, at the time, the Baltimore Bullets or the Washington Bullets, whatever they were at the time. I believe they were Baltimore. They beat them. Those were the top teams at the time. And then on the West, they beat the Lakers. The Lakers were the top team. They had Jerry West and those guys. So, they were able to beat those teams out there fair and square. Everybody was healthy. You know what I'm saying? And we were the ones that had the injury with Willis Reed. Willis Reed busted his knee. And for both series, actually, the first series, he wasn't able to play in the finals at all. But he played a little bit. He missed the last couple games, and the Knicks were able to win. In that second championship, Willis Reed wasn't the same player because even though he did come back and he did play, he was dragging his body for the rest of his career after that 1970 championship, man. So, yeah, man. So the Knicks were the ones that had the injuries, and they still won. Shout out to Clyde Frazier with one of the greatest games ever in that 70s championship. And shout out to some of the other players that they added to the squad in 73 to win that second one, man. So, what will be our story when the time comes? That's what we're here for, that we're here for that in the playoffs. Shout out to everybody in the chat. I want to make sure I get the chat. So I was looking at just watching the pods before. Sometimes I get into my talking, bro, and I just forget about you guys. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to get my thoughts out. And sometimes I'm spitting fire and I'm enjoying my own self talking. And sometimes I forget about you guys, man. So shout out to Eddie Officio. Got to get your names right here. And I'm from Brooklyn. I'm half Puerto Rican, so my my pronunciation is all, out of whack, for lack of a better term here. He says, very unfortunate because he's playing at a high level. Yeah, man. Yeah, they can't rush him, man. He's a good kid. Shout out to Cream. He said, how would you feel if Boston gets first place? They can get first place all they want, man. Like I mentioned, Like when it comes down to it, like the seeding is not going to necessarily be in our favor because let's say if the Knicks get the first or second seed, we're going to be the ones having to deal with Miami and Atlanta in the first round. You know what I mean? And there's also a possibility of those two teams actually beating the Magic. You know what I mean? So that's something to excuse me to think about right now in the last 12 games or so. That this Orlando Magic team they also could get pushed further south. You know what I'm saying? And then like shout out to the Hornets and the 76ers. They could still be in the mix also. The 76ers are a dangerous team. They've been unhealthy all year, so if they can get healthy and in the playoffs turn it on, they're one of the best teams in the East. Just on paper wise, I should say. You know what I mean? So, there's a lot of little subplots that we could talk about here when it comes to the playoff seeding. So, I'm just saying that just to answer Cream Grant's question. With the Celtics, if they become the number one seed, it doesn't really matter because all of these teams provide a little bit of a challenge for the Knicks. Except the Raptors. I'm not worried about the Raptors or Orlando Magic. I'll say that now. Even Cleveland. I'm not worried about Cleveland either. You know what I'm saying? But all these teams are good teams in their own right. And they all present the same problems for the Knicks, give or take a player or so. With Cleveland, them adding Harden is a problem for us defensively. You know what I'm saying? So they're gonna be attacking the rim and stuff. And we kind of have problems when it comes to guys that could create like that. So Cleveland's gonna bring us that problem. Orlando Magic, they got the physicality problem, but I think the Knicks can compete against them. That's why I'm not really worried about that. Um, like I said, I mentioned that the Miami Heat, regardless of who's on the Heat and what they do, you just got to be worried about them because they're tough out, bro. Atlanta Hawks, they're becoming that. They have a really good 8-man rotation, extremely strong 8-man rotation right now. Really good defensive team, and they're not the Trey Young Knicks. I mean the Trey Young Hawks. The Jalen Johnson Hawks. So they're really good, man. So like I said, the Hornets is a surprising team too. They have a lot of young guys. I'm not really worried about them. They shoot a lot of threes, if I'm not mistaken, how they play. But like toughness, they don't have toughness, so I'm not really worried about them. The Sixers, like I said, I already mentioned that they, on paper, they could present like probably like the most talent. I want to say, out of all these teams, just if everybody's healthy and clicking, they turn the switch. If they could turn the switch on, man, like I mentioned before, they could be tough. The West, I'm not worried about any team except the Thunder. So if the Knicks make it to the finals, I believe we have a great chance to win a championship because outside of the Thunder who play dirty, they have a number one scorer, they can rebound, they get to all the loose balls, they play tough, they're infinite. Their depth is infinite, infinite. I can't get the word I want to use, man, but they have infinite depth, right? The Timberwolves are trash, bro. The Rockets are pretenders. The Lakers are pretenders as well. The Nuggets, we got the Nuggets in our back pocket right now. The Spurs is a good team. I respect the Spurs, but I think we can beat them in a 7-game series. So I'm not worried about anybody on this West Coast roster. I believe we could beat any West Coast team in a 7-game series, except the Thunder. You know what I mean? So it's funny because the Thunder has problems against some of these teams in the West, which is interesting. But this East, the people saying that the West is stronger than the East. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. We got some strong teams in the East, and I believe that this playoff schedule, as I'm looking at it here, I'm not sure if you guys can see it too good here. Yeah, I like looking at my face. I don't know if you guys enjoy looking at my face there. I'm a little puffy. I wanted to talk about health a little bit in the beginning of the podcast there. But yeah, I'm a little puffy. I don't know what's going on with me, man. I need to drink some water. This new camera I got, man, is pulling up all the blemishes that I have in my face. Shout out to I work with in basically construction for the just to nip the whole explaining in the bud there. You know what I'm saying? So I get a lot of bum bumps all the time. So a lot of these black marks that you see on the kids' faces, all bum bumps from being out in the elements and not being able to wash up when I should be able to wash up. The job doesn't provide that. You know what I mean? So I end up with a lot of bum bumps just from being in the elements in the construction element, and holes and all kind of stuff, working. I don't know if there's a pause need to go there or something. I'm not sure if a pause needs to go in there. But yeah, that's why I got all these like black marks and stuff, man. But it is what it is, man. Just being transparent, everyone. So let me see what else you guys are talking about here. We got Animal Lex here. I was trying to get to his comment. He says new intro. I think K will be back for the playoffs. He will be. I think he will be back. But like I said, I'm worried about the kid. I don't want to see the kid. I don't want to see anything happen to anybody like that. Like I said, it collapsed lung. I'm thinking blood clots. That's like the worst case scenario. Worst case scenario like that. You know what I'm saying? Or possibly relapsing and happening again. Or if him passing out on the court, just trying to compete and stuff, man. So, those little things that I'm just worried about. You know what I'm saying? He could come back and it'll be like nothing happened to him. That's what's probably going to happen. That's what's likely going to happen. He's going to come back and he's going to be like all good, like nothing happened. You know what I'm saying? So don't count on him not being himself. He's going to be himself. So, but like Alamo Lex said, we talked about a little bit in the pod. I just would like to see him come back 100% healthy. So I think he should be gone for the season. Let them rest their players, let them figure it out, watch a lot of tape, practice, make sure they get practice time in with the full team outside of the regular season. Let the seeding fall where it may, and then let's turn on the lights in the playoffs. You know what I mean? Shout out to Eddie Fischio again. He says Boston with JT back will beat the Hawks. Yeah, that's possible, it's possible. That's another thing too. They have to get it clicking. If they can get it clicking with where Tatum is a big part of what they do. Shout out. I forgot who said it. I don't know if it was Shaq or somebody said or Mello. I think Mello's the one that said it that Tatum might need to take a back seat or whatever. They'll figure it out as a team. That's why Mello. Mello got a lot of flack for those comments. But Melo's a guy that he wants the ball. He's one of those guys that's give me the damn ball kind of guys. He don't care about the offense or nothing like that. So taking back seats and stuff like that is going to come from a player like Melo. Guys that didn't pass the ball when they were players. You know what I'm saying? Like he just hold the ball and just looking to call his own number every single time down. So somebody like Melo, even though Melo does know the game, he's speaking from that perspective. So back seats and stuff like that. Melo never took a back seat in his entire career. You know what I'm saying? At times where they tried to make him take a backseat, he refused. That's why he didn't play in the league for like a whole season or so. Because he couldn't conform. So, that conversation, you just gotta just look at who the person is that said it. Shout out to Fred Wong. He's giving us an update here with the NCAA tournament. He said VCU with the come from behind upset. I kind of knew that, man. I think I should have put some bread on that. VCU, they've been playing pretty good all year. I've been eating with VCU as far as wow, look at that. Wow. So I'm looking at some pictures now. Yeah, man. So, VCU, they've been playing pretty good all year, man, to tell you the truth. As far as like sports betting and stuff, I had VCU, I've used them plenty of times throughout the year and they've came through for me, as far as sports betting and stuff like that, man. So, VCU has been a hot team. A lot of the experts called that team as being a possible upset team. You know what I mean? So shout out to VCU. I don't even know what VCU means, bro. But I know that, they're purple, I believe, right? So, shout out to them. Shout out to UNC, Duke, all those top teams, man. Fuck those teams, man. You know, when it comes to like we're talking about seeding and like, like territorial stuff, the Knicks and whatever, territorial stuff is Knicks is New York, so it's New York versus Detroit. You know what I mean? So, when I see teams like UNC and whatever, they got all these recruits from all over the country. They're coming down south, to go to these teams and stuff. I get it, the college experience and stuff. These teams have high-tech facilities now because of throughout the years, all these great players just going to these schools to make the schools great. You know what I mean? So I always got mad. Let's say even I'll bring up Melo. Melo went to Syracuse because he wanted to play in their carrier, whatever the name of their arena is. He wanted to play in that arena. He wanted to be on national TV. He wanted everybody to see him. So I get it. That's why he went to Syracuse. He could have went to St. John's. St. John's had a good team too. I was looking it up today. Even though Syracuse won the national championship, the NCAA, that year St. John's won the NIT. So you can say that if Carmelo went to St. John's instead of Syracuse, he quite possibly could have had the same results. They could have made it all the way to the NCAA finals, with him as the star player, instead of how it played out. Because they had Marcus Haddon. Shout out to Marcus Haddon. Marcus Haddon was a dope player, man. He came to St. John's in his in his junior year, and he played his junior and his senior year. That's his only time he played college basketball. Averaged 22 points per game during that period. Like 3 steals a game too for both seasons. So shout out to Marcus Hatton, one of my favorite players ever. They didn't even get drafted. You know what I'm saying? So, the NBA, they play their favorites, man. I don't understand how Marcus Hatton didn't get drafted, or didn't get a chance to play in the NBA, man. Unbelievable. But I can imagine, Melo with Marcus Hatton, with St. John's, with Anthony Glover and those guys that they had, they possibly could have made it to the NCAA finals. Because like I said, they got bumped out the tournament, but they end up winning the NIT tournament. So, like I said, the history, you never know, but you can, that's what we're here for, to talk about stuff. You know what I mean? So that's interesting, man. Boston lives and dies by the three. Absolutely. Yeah, our bench. We're gonna talk. I got some stuff queued up for our bench too. So I feel like the bench is something that we kind of need to talk about. So shout out to Eddie, man. Eddie is our MVP of the podcast today. So I don't know if you guys can hear the soundboard, because I have like sounds queued up that I want to use, but if it's not working on the soundboard, I don't want to be hitting the button and you guys don't know why I'm pausing or why I'm so happy that these sounds are coming on. You know what I mean? So yeah, man. So I see you talking about the Cavs Sixers with Maxi. Yeah. So scrolling through. Yeah. So I definitely appreciate whatever. So Kareem Grant is telling me to check my text, man. Let me see what Kareem Grant is saying here. So Kareem Grant said, check your text. I don't see a text from you, Mr. Kareem. Maybe you text me on Instagram. Let's check that out real quick. I got so many Instagram pages, man. I got some Instagram pages that are just for the booties, the booty chicks. You know what I mean? They're so disgusting that I have to like make it only for that. Yeah, man. So I don't see any messages from you, my brother. So I'm not sure if I'm looking at the wrong thing. You know what I mean? So, I don't know if you have my regular number, text my regular number, or text me on Instagram, man. See if I can get it going. But yeah, he's very physical. So let's Virginia Commonwealth. Shout out to Harlem CO. That's my guy there. Harlem CO, I almost gave away your hat the other day. You gave me a Knicks 70 anniversary hat. So shout out to my dad. My dad over the weekend, he turned 70. You know what I'm saying? So we threw a party for him on Saturday. Shout out to my sister, Nick sis, whatever. I've been trying to get her to do a pod forever. She doesn't want it. And she wants to do it so bad, but she's afraid that she's gonna lose her job by coming on with me talking junk, man. But I almost gave away that hat, man. So I'm just thinking about you. I wanted to make sure I mentioned that, while we're playing and stuff, while we're talking here. But let's get into the Knicks roster here. So right off the bat, there's somebody right there, right in the middle there. Let's change the format here. Let's do it like this. So right there at the bottom excuse me, in the middle of your screen there's a player that the cursor is going around. His name rhymes with Childs and someone died. That sounds crazy. Child, someone died. I just didn't have anything else to say. Sorry about that. But Miles McBride, Deuce McBride. There's a player in a long time, man. He's been out injured, but they're talking about him being available for the playoffs. He should be available to come back pretty soon. But at the moment, right now, we don't need him. What the fuck? The Knicks don't need Miles McBride, man. We don't need Miles McBride because of the guy next to him on the left-hand side. Jordan Clarkson came back from the dead, basically. And he's been playing really well, Shout out to Shamit. Shamit's here somewhere. Let's look at Shamit. Shamit is here. So Shamit's been playing some good basketball. You know what I'm saying? So outside of Shamit, we still have Jose Alvarado, who just came off of 16 points or 10 assists in his first start as a Knick. So since I just mentioned those three players, they're the ones that are coming off the bench for Brunson and whoever it is. If you say Josh or McHale, whoever it is starting with Brunson in the backcourt. So I just mentioned three players, Jose, Clarkson, and Shamit in the mix of the backcourt. Where does Deuce McBride fit? So I got into something. Matter of fact, I never talk Knicks at my job. I would love to, but it's just that guys get so animated and they want to get personal, whatever, and then they want to try to bring emotion out of you. Next thing you know, you want to have a fist fight, or you end up making yourself look like a bitch because over some Knicks takes, or sounding like a sucker over some Knicks takes. You know what I mean? So I don't talk Knicks at the job too much, only with certain people, guys that really want to know my opinion or whatever, or we're just kicking it. I like to kick it with people. But when guys feel like they have a stage, they want to make it into something that it doesn't need to be. Anyway, you know what I'm saying? Jordan Clarkson, Alvarado, and Shamit. Where does he fit? Where does Deuce McBride fit? Shout out to Tyler Kolek, because people say, oh, why they not playing Tyler Kolek? It's like, bro, it's because they have now Jordan Clarkson's back in the mix, Jose Alvarado, and freaking Shamit. So how are they going to get anybody else to play? I'm trying to see if there's anybody else here that I'm missing. I'm not missing nobody else. Shout out to Mohamed Diawara. So you're not going to bench the kid. He's been playing fantastic coming off the bench as a forward, for the Knicks. So we don't need another 6 foot guard. Deuce McBride is listed as 6'2". We don't need another small guard, man. Diawara cannot not play. He has to play. Clarkston at this point now, he's back. He's got to play, bro. He's brought something to this team that we've needed. We need somebody that can get buckets off the bench, and he's been able to do that. Extra ball handler, extra shooter, and stuff like that. Somebody that can create that shot. We're definitely going to need him when the playoffs is. He's a grizzled veteran. He knows how to play. We need him out there. You know what I mean? So he's got to play. Jose Alvarado, fits the same thing. So does Shamit. All those guys have the experience. They've been around the league. We need them. I trust those guys with my. Excuse me. I trust those guys with the basketball wearing that Knicks jersey. When the lights get bright, I trust those 3 guys. I trust Deuce also. I trust Deuce. But as currently constituted with the things that have been happening, I don't think Deuce McBride plays. I think he's a situational guard. What the hell do you guys think? So he said, Queen Grant said, check my IG. So I see a post now. So let's see if that's you. Yeah, there you go. So he just sent the picture. Okay, this is all right. So this is what somebody the person you were talking about, your cousin, I believe you said, that works for Cade. He said, hey cuz, is Cade hurt bad? I don't want to boss order. So you go, I don't know how he is. I have to be in super early tomorrow. All right, cool. So tomorrow we should have a nice little update about that, you know. So shout out to Sim. Sim will definitely be on talking about that, with post games and stuff. You know what I mean? So we'll see. If Korean Grant gets an update, maybe I'll do like a shorts video or something like that, a reels or a shorts video. Shout out to my shorts and stuff. I've been doing pretty good with the shorts, keeping the channel going and stuff, especially the Instagram and my YouTube channel and stuff, so doing shorts and whatever. So I think during the playoffs, I'm gonna try some things. I bought some equipment. I really want to like to try some stuff out, on my own channel, trying it out and see how it works. Because I think the short form content on my channel is working out a little bit better for me as far as like my time and stuff. I enjoy doing the long form, talking to you guys and stuff, but I'm doing it on Sim's channel, so I'm having fun doing this, man. So I think we might keep it the way that it is now, going forward and stuff, man. So, but yeah, man, where does Deuce McBride fit? So what do you guys think about that? So he says, this is Underlows here. Underlows, he says, I feel you about Deuce, but the Thunder win by depth. I get it. I get it. But the Thunder also play a different way. The Thunder, they have a gang mentality the way that they play. The Knicks don't necessarily play it like that. The Knicks as a team, we rally. We're a rally team. Where we have a scheme of defense and whatever. And like when guys are rallying around, we're able to play really good defense. And I believe that works against every team in basketball. Even against OKC, we rallied against them also, and we almost beat them the last time we played them. You know what I mean? So, we're a rally team, but as far as OKC, they just come out there and they're punching you in your face constantly. And no matter who they put out there, they all come out there with the same energy. So they can have key injuries to the team, but the next man up mentality with their squad, they can go 12 deep. They can literally go 12 deep, and those guys are playing for each other so crazy that for me, just watching them, it doesn't seem like they don't have anybody in that locker room that's not about winning. That doesn't have any egos or anything like that. We can go down the line. Deuce McBride has an ego. He wants to play a little bit more. Jordan Clarkson has an ego. I say that because like the reporters, they ask leading questions and they take the bait and they give you like little snippets of letting you know that yes, that they care about their minutes, they care about their shots and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Jose Alvarado also has a little bit of a ego there, but he comes off the bench. He doesn't. I have never seen him saying that he needed to start. He's a team player. OG is very quiet, but they said that he be bitching offline, man. They said, I've heard a lot of stories that he's really been complaining about his role since he's been a Knick. He wants the ball, but he's been clumsy a lot. This year he's actually playing some of his best basketball of his career, especially down the stretch the last couple games. Getting 20 points per game, becoming that third option. Actually pushing Mikal Bridges out of the equation and making him the third option, which I like. I think that's a bit of a bread and butter there with the team. Of course, Brunson has one. Tyler Kolek, he's been a professional also, but he has a little bit of an ego. Mitchell Robinson, I'm tired of that motherfucker. You know what I mean? I haven't really said much about Mitchell Robinson throughout the years for his 7 years, however long he's been in the NBA. I've been talking about Mitchell Robinson left to right. This year, he's in the role where he should be, where he's only playing 15 minutes per game or even less. You know what I'm saying? Let him come out there, let him play those minutes and play as hard as he can. Maybe every once in a while he could play a little bit more than that, but I don't want to see Mitchell Robinson ever play more than 30 minutes. Let him just do what he's supposed to do because he like whatever he can't do hurts the team if he plays more than 30 minutes. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really have nothing to say about Mitchell Robinson, but he's one of those guys too that plays with like an ego. Like he wished that he was like, Dwight Howard or something like that, or even like Dirk Nowitzki. He wants to be Dirk Nowitzki, for Christ's sake. Mikal, he needs to go, because he wants to be a 30-point a game scorer. In his mind, his mom told him that he's a 30-point a game scorer. Karl Anthony Towns, we already know about him, and it's not even worth talking about it. The rest of the guys are just trying to find their way. I'm saying? Shout out to Trey Jameson, the third. I think he's a good player, but he probably would never play for the Knicks, but just having him around is positive. So, we got a nice balance of positive guys, a lot of guys with a lot of confidence. Shout out to Jerry Socam, also very positive locker room kind of guy, keeping guys loose and stuff like that. But we do have our egos. Just looking at OKC, just off the top of the head, they don't have any egos over there. The only ego they have is Shea, but Shea got the ball. You know what I'm saying? So it's interesting. It's gonna be definitely interesting to as time goes on, how this plays out, how all the stuff plays out. You know, but the one person I'm looking at, man, is that Deuce McBride. I know I mentioned I'm really keen on him because I don't think he should play another game for the Knicks, to tell you the truth, unless somebody gets hurt or unless there's a situation where we need him to come out there to fuck shit up. If he comes out there to fuck shit up, he should never take anybody's minutes though. Because Jose Alvarado and Clarkston and Shaman are playing so good, that they need to be out there. It doesn't matter if Deuce McBride comes in and plays well. If he comes in and plays well, he's gonna have to eat like that. The whole playoffs. He's gonna have to eat that way. Coming in like just as an energy piece or somebody to come in there to knock somebody on the floor, give up nice hard foul. So he's got to be that guy. I'm sorry, Shaman, was that guy. But now since these guys are playing so well, that Deuce McBride is gonna have to take one for the team. Now, if we win a championship, then it don't matter. We all get that ring, and then he will get credit for his contribution in that role. You know what I'm saying? But him taking minutes away from some of these guys, I just think that that's a non-starter for me. When it comes to Deuce McBride, you know what I'm saying? Same thing with some of these other guys. Unless somebody gets hurt or something like that, I don't think these guys need to play. Unless it's for a quick minutes to get them out there. Like I said, for Deuce McBride to jump on somebody, like to get them tired for a stint, for a run, a quick little run, but he shouldn't get the minutes. The minutes belong to these other guys, that's been here, because this is how I'm looking at it, man. I don't know if you guys agree. I don't know if you guys agree with that. Shout out to Home CEO. He says, it will be a time where the Knicks will have to put heavy defensive lineup. Yeah. So Deuce McBride definitely fits that. Deuce McBride with Jose Alvarado. Let's say if we play Cleveland, I'm looking at the playoff picture here. If we play Cleveland, having a Deuce McBride with Alvarado, to throw those defensive guards at Harden, is definitely going to be a good situation to talk about there. There's not really any other teams that really have a strong backcourt like that. Maybe the Hawks, to disrupt the Hawks a little bit, but like I said, it can't be like something where these guys are playing so much minutes that they're disrupting the chemistry of the team. You know what I'm saying? Just trying to do some minutes, So, I mean, it's going to have to be on a situational basis. So let's say like last year, against Detroit, Miles McBride was inefficient against Detroit last year in the playoffs. But then against Boston, he was one of the better players out there. So it has to do with matchups. You know what I'm saying? So like if we like say this first round, if we play the Orlando Magic, we don't necessarily need Deuce out there. We have the personnel to beat Orlando Magic without Deuce McBride interrupting the rotation in any way. But in that second round, if we end up playing, like a Cleveland in that second round or something like that, however the playoff seeding goes, if we end up playing them in the second round, then Deuce McBride probably will be called a little bit sooner. Shout out to Philly, maybe if we're playing against Philly or whatever, because Philly has a good backcourt with what's the name? Edgecombe and the Maxi and Edgecombe. They have a great backcourt there. So adding an extra defender just to disrupt, to get out there and disrupt a little bit, that would be beneficial. But the Knicks don't play dirty. So OKC plays dirty. So they throw guys out there to throw elbows and like they commit one foul, but then they've actually fouled them like two more times on the same play. The Knicks have not mastered it yet. The Detroit Pistons, they brought that back this year with the what do you call the gang fouls, the Oakley X-Men Anthony Mason foul, where Oakley is fouling up top, but then you got Mason with his hand in your back pocket and freaking X-Men with the knife in your back. You know what I'm saying? So they kind of play the same way. So it's gonna be interesting to see how that all plays out, man. So I just believe in the Knicks. I definitely believe in the Knicks. Taking a look at the depth chart. That's what I'm going to look at too. Just the depth chart. Just looking at that right now, it says that the Josh Hart is hurt. Josh Hart is battling a bunch of injuries right now. He's just trying to get right for the playoffs. So you got Jalen Brunson was out the last game also. So between Josh Hart and Brunson, that's my backcourt. Just on paper. Mikal Bridges and OG with Anthony Towns. That's our starting lineup. I don't really want to change that starting lineup. Coming behind him, like I mentioned, Jose Alvarado's right there with Shamet in the backcourt. That's all you need. Jordan Clarkson right now is that third player, at the small forward, whatever, however it plays out. Maybe Mikal Bridges might still be in the game when you bring Jordan Clarkson in, so whatever. This kind of like, plays into that. But Mitchell Robinson is the fourth person there. You got Karl Anthony Towns, you can move around. Most of our players you can move around, but with Jose, Shamet, Clarkson, and Mitchell Robinson, I think that's the rotation. The fifth player that should be added to that mix is not Deuce. It would have to be Diawara. Diawara added to the mix there as a forward with the 3 guard center with Diawara. That's what we need to succeed in the playoffs. That group. When you start getting the third and fourth and fifth rotation, you're talking about Tyler Kolek now. Hawk Porty. Only if there's an injury. Socam also, Jeremy Sohan, whatever, how you pronounce his name, obviously Sohan. Sohan is important too. So, if it so happens that we need a foul, I'd rather call Jeremy Sohan out there. If you see Jeremy Sohan come in the game, you already know what time it is. Somebody's gonna hit the deck. You know what I mean? And Jeremy Sohan, I think, is more equipped to do that rather than a Deuce. So I will call Jerry Sohan on the court before Deuce at this point. And if I'm calling on Sohan, somebody's gonna be eating the dirt. Somebody's gonna hit the court, and gonna get some wood chips in their ass. If I call on Sohan, that's if I'm the coach. You know what I'm saying? But it's a lot of things to think about. A lot of stuff to unpack. The Knicks have a nice roster. The only thing that we don't have is that we don't necessarily have a bully capable of being in the rotation. Like I would love to have an extra rebounder. So, like, if it was up to me, I would get rid of Mikal Bridges and see if I can get somebody in here that can rebound. But at this point now, we can't do that. This is what it is. This is the team that we have, and we can't really do nothing about it, man. But outside of that, I think the Knicks are good. I think the Knicks are pretty good, as currently constituted. You know what I mean? Yeah, so it's almost been an hour, bro. I be talking, bro. Golly. I be talking. I got a can of soda here. I cracked it open. I didn't even take a sip of this shit yet. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I think God blessed me with the ability to just talk to myself. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm talking to you guys, but yeah, man, it's like nobody here but me right now. So God bless me with the ability to like literally talk to myself, man. So like if let's say if it was the end of the world or something like that, shout out to the show called Paradise. I don't know if you guys watch that. Paradise is on Hulu. We've been watching that, you know what I'm saying? So if there was end of the world situation like with The Walking Dead or something, and I had a radio, I would entertain the whole the whole world with my talking. You know what I'm saying? Or running the last few batteries out there with the bullshit that I have to say. Let me take a sip. I don't know if you can hear the soundboard. I'm pushing buttons and shit, but I don't know if you guys can hear it. But yeah, man, I definitely enjoyed the pod, man. You know, is there something else that I want to talk about? Sometimes I get distracted, man. So I know I'm talking about, the 70 games. We got 70 games and 12 left. I don't really want to talk about the rest of the games because we play the Brooklyn Nets tomorrow, I believe, right? So, I'm not worried about the Nets. And then I believe we play the Wizards after that. So the next 5 games are gonna be decent. The next 3, I believe, are easy games. And then we play 2 decent teams after that. But the last 12 games, what we want to do right now, yes, we still want to win, and stuff like that. We want to end the season on a good note. But at this point, we don't want players to get hurt. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to sacrifice a win I don't want to sacrifice being healthy just to get a win. At this point, like I mentioned with the schedule and the playoff seeding and stuff, it doesn't really matter where we go. It doesn't really matter because all these teams present a unique matchup problem for the Knicks. You know what I'm saying? So I don't care where we fall there. It's not so guaranteed that we beat Cleveland. It's not guaranteed that we beat certain teams. But I like our chances against any team in the East. It's going to be tough no matter what. So whoever we play, I'm okay with it, man. So it is what it is. I don't really want to talk about the next few games. So that's why I wanted to do this as far as the 70 game thing. On my channel, I did a podcast talking about the first 12 games. So it's interesting now that we're here that I'm talking about the last 12. You know what I'm saying? But we're not really talking about the last 12, but just talking about the point where we have 12 games left. You know what I'm saying? So it's interesting, man. So next week, just for guys to look it up. Next week on Thursday, the Knicks actually play a game. I forgot what team we play, so I'll look that up. But I have it on the screen. So when is it? Thursday? Yeah, next Thursday we play Charlotte. So Charlotte is another one of those gimme games. So we played it. Like, we played the Nets, fam. We played the Nets. We played the Wizards. New Orleans has been surging. Actually, they've been playing pretty good. Charlotte Hornets is a possible playoff team there. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to discredit them. You know what I mean. But these next 4 games, the Knicks should be able to win. That New Orleans game, I think, is going to give us a problem. But we'll see. But Charlotte, we play Charlotte. But just to spit it out, next Thursday, I still will be doing the podcast during this Knicks game. So I will be actually doing a live play-by-play next week on this channel for the first time. So I don't think Sim has ever done a play-by-play on this channel. But so next week on Thursday, we'll have the first play-by-play next week against Charlotte, man. So I've done it plenty of times on my channel. That's all I was doing the last couple of years is straight play-by-play, not really doing a lot of singular podcasts. I've just been doing watch-alongs, game watch-alongs, and I know everybody on my channel enjoy it. I mean, getting people have been DM me and ask me, "Yo, when you gonna do the games again?" So right now I just don't have the time to do it. But next Thursday, I'll be in front of the camera to do the pod. You know what I mean? So I'll be here doing the play-by-play again, man. So tune in for next week, Thursday. It won't be a full game play-by-play. Well, I'll come in at the same time, 9 o'clock. So the game starts at 7. So the game is probably gonna be over at 9. So all right, so check it. Maybe halftime of next week. At halftime, I'll pop in at halftime and give you a halftime to crunch time show on this channel next week. So I'm just realizing the game starts at 7. So halftime is gonna be like around 8:30. So the game might be over at 9 o'clock, man. So halftime, whatever time that is, whenever halftime starts, I'll start the watch along at halftime next week, and we can get it popping that way, man. You guys on the Nothing But Knicks channel that's never seen me do a play-by-play, we get to see how I give it up with the play-by-play and stuff, man. So hopefully I'll have the soundboard. Hopefully I have the soundboard going, and I can really have some fun next week when it comes to the play-by-play and stuff, man. So tune in next week on the Nothing But Knicks channel where we can get our first play-by-play, on this channel, and that should be fun, man, against the Charlotte Hornets. Yeah, man. So I'm just taking a look at some more comments and stuff. I see Jacko in the place. Shout out to Jacko. Jacko was my first moderator on my channel. So I see Jacko's been on other people's channels and stuff too, man. So shout out to Nothing But Knicks. I'm trying to get this show to the point where it's only on Nothing But Knicks. You know what I'm saying? But some of my own people are having a hard time finding it. So that's why I've been keeping it on my channel just for my people to find it. You know what I'm saying? So eventually I would like to just stay on Nothing But Knicks with this Die Hard Hour show. You know what I mean? So, just if people start looking for it, just get used to Nothing But Knicks, Nothing But Knicks channel with this particular show. like I said, I do have more content ideas that I will be putting on my own channel, Nothing But Knicks. Excuse me, Die Hard Knicks podcast. So tune in for that content. But this Die Hard hour, this is a Nothing But Knicks show here, man. So on the way out, let me just say what's up to everybody because I'm already over an hour. I'm trying to keep the show to an hour. He says, Korean Grant says, our major issue that we still haven't fixed for years is defending the three. Yeah, defending the three is a problem, but our defense, I believe we're top 5 in offense and defense, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. We're definitely up there this year in offense and defense. So the Knicks have done a better job, I would say, guarding the three this year compared to Tom Thibodeau. Tom Thibodeau just didn't give a damn about the three. If we were going to get beat by the three, he wanted us to get our ass whipped by the three, not just get beat. He wanted us to get dragged with that 3-point shot. But I think Mike Brown has done a better job, helping that out. But we have an older squad, so it is what it is. Harlem CEO is still helping me out here. Definitely. He says we have an accidental enforcer, Hawk Porty. Hawk Porty is kind of nutty, bro. You know what I mean? He has the potential to be so much. He's kind of a hack, you know what I mean? But it is what it is. Shout out to Raphael here, Raphael Knicks podcast. Shout out to Raphael. He puts some interesting content on his YouTube channel. He's definitely a big part of what's going on Twitter with the spaces and stuff. Shout out to Twitter. It's called the X app. Shout out to the X app. Yeah, watch along next week, man. So I'll leave it like that. Next week we are definitely doing a watch along, guys. So I'll be there at halftime. So tune in to Nothing But Knicks channel, and you'll see me going ham the only way that I could do it, doing these watch alongs and stuff, man. So I appreciate everybody for coming in. I'm quite sure I missed something that I want to talk about. I definitely mentioned Deuce. That's something I really wanted to say. Shout out to the Detroit fans. From my perspective, man, I'm quite sure Simmons not going to be that way either, man. We want to see this kid do well. It doesn't feel good to see him have something like this, collapse lung or anything like that. So we're hoping that he can get himself together and be healthy enough to play and compete in a healthy way. Don't just be out there and you're not right. You know what I'm saying? You make sure that you're good. That's first and foremost before you get back out there. So shout out to the Detroit fans. No animosity towards you guys. I talked about you guys some of the previous podcasts and stuff. I have no beef against Detroit. I don't understand why Detroit has beef with the Knicks. I just don't get it. You know what I'm saying? You guys need to like channel your energy a little bit better, man. Act like you've been here before. Anyway, Die Hard Knicks podcast in the place. Die Hard Hour on Nothing But Knicks, and also Die Hard Knicks podcast. I enjoy doing this. Thank you guys for tuning in. Rocking the orange shirt again. I'm quite sure somebody's going to point that out at some point. But we up out of here. 4 fingers to the forward, tucking the thumb salute. Please enjoy the outro. This is the Lettuce with the Die Hard Hour theme song. Enjoy, guys. I'll see you guys next week. Peace. Watch along.
There's been a change of plans, tighten up the clamps, we guarding the glass, I'm a Knickerbocker, we going man to man, no blood, no foul, sturdy in the zone, I leave it all on the line, die hard or go home, you see the body work, we shaking and baking, was down by 20, but my spirit ain't breaking, respect ain't automatic, you screaming out for the ref for a tech, I guard the garden, steel block swatted, bleed blue and orange, it's a die hard thing, you know nothing about it, live with the any star, 5 borough flavor, I made it rain, stole your cookies, see you later, yeah, die hard, we ain't get these scars for nothing, we gon' die hard, yeah, die hard, we ain't get these scars for nothing, we gon' try hard, yeah, lettuce, suck.